While it's unfortunate that the Mouse Guard movie was canceled, rather than dwell on its death, I want to focus on its life. The artists who did over a year of production painting and building, character designs, environments, and key scenes. I'm very happy we all get to see and appreciate their beautiful work. Please welcome 5 of them. Darek Zabrocki.
Shit, you...
Did I do it wrong again? Zabrocki! Yeah. I did it wrong. Darek Take 2.
Yeah, Zabrocki is good. It's good.
Take 2.
Yeah, hey.
Please welcome 5 of them. Darek Zabrocki. Didier Konnings.
Yeah, Didier. That's fine.
Didier.
That's all right. Yeah. No worries. We're just being hard on you. It's all good.
Aleksey Pollak, David Masson, and Hristo Chukov. Welcome.
Awesome.
All right, we're going to go one by one and show off some of their work. They have provided some slides that they've all gotten cleared so that they don't get in any trouble, I don't get in any trouble, and you guys all get a treat out of it. So we're going to start with the work of David. And first up is this piece, which we all recognize from the teaser footage, the sizzle reel.
Yeah, so this was like a very, very early on the project. This one and the next one. So this was basically trying to establish more like a mood and try to put like the different elements together in terms of like the mood, the lighting, the colors, and getting to see like the mice and the turtle with the house. So this isn't by any means like the final design for like the house and what that architecture was going to be, but it was a really, really fun piece to establish the mood. Then you can go to the next one. And for this one, was kind of the same deal. It's like very early on the process. We didn't have like a fixed script yet. So it was more like getting kind of like the vibe and exploring like all this different sides of like the Mouse Guard universe. And this was one of the ideas of just trying to see how it would look like all these soldiers on top of the sparrows, just like riding into combat and trying to figure something that could potentially turn into maybe like a cool action scene or something like that. If you move to the next one, so this was a really, really, really fun character to work on. So Ken Bartholomew is like another artist that worked on this character. He did some pencil sketches. I also worked on like different owl species. Like we explored like the barn owl. We explored like different things with the eyes. And this is kind of like the final design we ended up with. It's a lot of the inspiration for this was the owl from Secret of Nim, where we were trying to incorporate these elements of him looking like very wise, but also threatening to the mice, right? Because it's their natural predator. I cannot talk too much about the story specifically behind this character.
I was surprised to see the owl in the slides because of that.
Yeah, me too. Like, so I cannot talk too much about who he is and his part in the story. But yeah, it's like this mixture of very wise but very intimidating at the same time. If you go to the next one, there's like, there you go. There's like a close-up of the face. This was also really fun to do. And again, like these like feather eyebrows that we had were really inspired by Secret of Nim. It gives like a lot of character, and then also trying to blend these like feathers and that then became part of the beard. And we did so many explorations for this character. We were trying different things with the eyes. Part of the inspiration to do this kind of like blind owl eyes, there's this really specific famous Instagram owl, I think it's called like Caesar, that got blinded by lightning. So he ended up having this kind of like twinkles in the eyes, and it's really cool. You guys can look it up. And that was also like a big inspiration of trying to find the right look. We also explored stuff with like scars and different, like basically trying to tell a story behind it. Like, oh, if it was scarred, maybe it was like a fighting like these other predators or these other animals. But we ended up going for like the blind owl, and I think it really fit like the character in the end. Yeah, it was a really cool one. Now we moved on to the next one. So, all right, these I can talk a bit more. So this is, again, I cannot talk too much about his role in the story apart from like his name. I think they narrowed it down to Hollis. And what's really cool about this character, and this is like a joint effort of many artists, including myself. Like I'm fortunate enough to do like the final design and illustration for this guy, but like another artist, Vance Kovacs, participated in the early stages of this character, and then the input for like the costume design was Mayes Rubeo. So Mayes Rubeo was like the costume designer of the show. You might know her from like Thor Ragnarok, Avatar, Apocalypto, like the list goes on. And so this was after we did like a few brainstorming sessions of like all the artists giving different inputs of how the character could look. We finally narrowed it down to the design of this body that I had, and then her ideas for costume. So something that was really cool about this character is I think Vance Kovacs suggested that, but it's the leather straps he's wearing is actually frog leather. So that's why it's like colorful. It's something exotic, and it also shows that this character is, even though he's from the Mouse Guard universe, he's like from somewhere different than where like Liam and the rest of the characters that we see are, right? So that's why he has these trinkets and these accessories that basically indicate that he's someone that travels a lot, right? And it comes from like other places that you find in this very, vast universe. And also
he's seen the
that
world.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's seen the world. You can kind of see it in his face. He's got like a lot of character and personality. We're trying to find also something unique with the face. So what I did to kind of like push like how big he is like making the ears smaller, giving him like the piercings, and then putting a lot of character. Like for example, his fur is not nice and smooth. It's kind of like matted. He's got like a lot of personality, and it's like a very fun character to do. Now move on to the next one. So this is Rand. This was like the final design for Rand.
This is one of
like
my
a lot of fun.
This was one of my favorite of the character designs that I saw, especially since it was so different than my Rand. My Rand has a yellow cloak, and he doesn't look as formidable and as fearsome. But everything about Rand and who he's supposed to be as a protector came through in this image.
Yeah, that was like the whole idea, because we played with the idea of the yellow cloak, right? But then once we were starting getting like more deeper into like what the color of the capes mean, and kind of giving like the hierarchy like inside the guard, we were thinking like, okay, we need to keep the red cloak. So we were trying to show Rand more through like his personality instead of like the red cloak. Like I really like giving him the mace because everybody else was running around with like swords and shield, and it's like, okay, we need to show that he's like something else, right? Like from the rest of the guard. Like, so I was thinking like, okay, let's give him like a different weapon. Let's keep the shield. Let's do something unique with his design. Like he's wearing like the Mouse Guard like emblem in his chainmail, which also like shows his pride, like being part of the guard. And then a lot of it was working his eyes and his look. Like if you get closer like on the eyes, he's got like a little bit of like losing the hair on the top of the face, right? So he's old, he's wise, he's seen a lot, and it was all trying to communicate that through his eyes and his look, right? And giving like a little bit of the gray, like the braided beard. So yeah, this is actually also one of my favorites. I'm really glad I can show this one, because like a lot of effort went into him, and I think you turned out really, really great. And then let's move on to the next one, and there we go, Liam. So we did so many versions of Liam from different artists. Like took a whack at him, like in terms of the design, like all the departments. And this was actually a version that I did pretty early on, and for some reason like Wes and like the production really responded to this, so it always went back to this guy. It was really cool to see. I don't know if you saw it, David, but they had this like cardboard cutout of this Liam that was like, I think like 3 or 4 feet tall. That was really cool.
I think that was propped up in the corner the one time that I did get to the office. Yeah.
But yeah, this was really fun, and this was trying to find a design for Liam. Like a lot of things went into it, because he needs to look obviously like young, adventurous, still confident and ready to take the world, like, and go into adventure. But at the same time, it was trying to find through the design to show that he comes from like humble beginnings, right? Like he's gone through stuff, right? Which is like also bringing him into this journey that we're going to see in the movie. But there's definitely something about the design that's very like minimalist. It's like it's humble. Like the leather is really worn, right? Like the cape itself, you can see the stitching, like on top of it. You can see like the end of the cape is like all ragged and torn, right? But his look, it was, I think, one of the things I was really happy with, because it's like this young mouse, like ready to face adventure, right? Ready to face his fears and just go out there. And something that was really challenging with Liam was, because he's the main character, we wanted to keep that iconic shape design that you have in your mind, right? It's like the thin chin, like the big ears, like the big back of head is keeping like that really triangular shape. And it was like, okay, if Liam's is like the protagonist, he needs to also like represent that shape, that design. So a lot of work went to finding the right balance between like the size of the eyes, like the muzzle, the mouth, and then the size of the ears. And in the end, I'm really happy. There was like also something that we wanted to introduce like in a subtle way, was we're keeping like the primary colors of the characters, but we're trying to add like a little bit of the patterning, just like ever so subtle, to just make it more real and more grounded in reality, right?
Yeah.
And then just like adding the wraps like on the arms and the feet, just like this was like a really, really fun design. And I was happy to see, like, after all the versions we did, like including myself, I did, I think, like over 50 different versions, like different costumes on this illustration, plus all these other illustrations exploring Liam in different ways. And this is kind of the one we always ended up going back to.
That's great. Yeah.
But yeah.
All right, let's move on to Aleksey.
Aleksey, right.
I got it right that time.
Yeah, so that was initially this Black Rock battle supposed to be an opening scene for the movie, if I'm not wrong. So we did a few keyframe concepts showing it from different angles, from different perspectives, trying different lighting. Unfortunately, I didn't get character designs at that moment, only just a bunch of some explorations at that moment. But that was my initial simple take on them. You can move to the next one. This one was very fun to do, like battle, this Black Rock battle from the top view. It was challenging, but I must say that's really fun to do, like exploring different options, different lighting, and was trying to show that there is two types of there is like a bad mice and there's a good mice which has this ropes. It's a really simple solution, but I suppose it worked that way. We can go to the next one. There was a lot of exploration concepts for the environment itself without particular action, but although it was very fun to add some story bits and how characters interact with the environment, especially for the castle scenes, I tried to find different solutions for color. I remember this scene had three or two versions. We stopped on this warm one because the another one was kind of cold. So we came back to this one. We can move to the next slide. Yeah, this is like a tactical hole, which is supposed to be at first without characters, but in the end I just put this mice in here to show how they use this environment and how we can show it in a frame. So that's it from the castle. Next one. For a mice village, there was done dozens of concepts, including overpaintings of the Unreal Engine scenes. Mm-hmm. But I remember that I wanted to get more depth and playing a lot with lighting, so I built up my own scene and kind of my own assets, and just initially started this as a concept of the village, but then it turns to this celebration scene. I remember there was even a sketch from Franz Kovacs for this element of the theater or something. So I tried to introduce this into this village environment. I remember that even after a couple of images on this topic, village, I went to shoot a couple of references together, some ideas of how small elements can be used in these environments, like for example, I know leaves or moss, and try to introduce them into these concepts.
Yeah, it's great. There's such a warm, like Bilbo's birthday kind of feeling about this, and I love that the marionettes that are something that I've explored in Mouse Guard got actually incorporated into part of the festival.
Yeah, this one it's tree temple concept. I believe there was done a couple of versions, and it also has an Unreal scene, if I'm not wrong. The design of the armor was done by David, and I just put there this armor into this kind of a tree. I remember there was a tree and a huge cave around it, if I'm not wrong. So I tried to find some color solution to it to make it more like kind of a sacred, kind of a unique, but in this time, like at the same time, hidden from the outside world by the roots. So there is.
There's an ethereal quality to it.
Sorry?
There's an ethereal quality to it. That there's a little bit of a dream.
I tried to implement that in this scene, this kind of a mist around this tree, this lighting, this reddish leaves guiding us to this armor, so something like that. Yeah. We can move to the next one.
Okay.
Here, this is my take on a snake scene. I wanted to play a bit with the dynamic here, so I used water splashes, and it helped me a lot with it. So yeah, I know that Hristo did a great version of it, and you will see it later.
Okay.
I believe he will show it also.
I'm just glad to see my trio, Saxon, Kenzie, and Liam together.
Yeah, it's from the same set of Village, but without characters, just the exploring of lighting and how it might look like, what kind of, how roots can interact with the houses, how it can build the composition of a small town. Should feel like, really comfortable in there. So the same thing as I mentioned before, I used a lot of references that I gathered in the park near us. So I just implement them here in this scene, like this shrooms or like leaves on the foreground. Mm-hmm. So something like that.
When I'm drawing it, I go out and shoot some nature stuff too, and I also build models, but somehow my versions of these never look as homey and welcoming as all of yours.
Yeah, well, the good thing that we had also like a small stream in that park, so I also have had a couple of shots of it, so it's so also cool. Here. So yeah, that's basically I guess it from me.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you for your attention.
You're welcome. Thank you. On to Darek. And...
Yeah. So hi, awesome stuff. I guess everyone that's in here, and I just really some of the stuff really just strike and like bring the memories from the project, because I guess we all been like for a majority of time on that project, and it was so diverse and so deep. And yeah, I just wanted to say that even though everyone knows it's a shame that it got canceled, I think it was like one of the most like diverse project. For concept art that we can do basically, right? That you can really stop all different stuff, from like environments to props and action scenes, and as David showed before, characters. which is pretty awesome because it really pushed all the artists to the limits, and there was basically no limits for us, at this point, for the exploration part. So regarding my slides, I just prepared like only the key sort of like aspects of what I was working on, exploring stuff, because I think Didier did some iterations on the same locations as I did.
Oh,
So
right.
there was like a lot of like collaborative effort. But of course, every location had its own like main sort of like picture or like inspirational sort of key art, right? So what we can say is basically the final stage of like development. And for this one, I don't really remember from the story of you, David, but they wanted to do like sort of like a holy tree from the Avatar, and they wanted me to like explore like different designs for the tree, which is basically where the owl was sort of like flying in, and the wise owl basically that David was showing before. So maybe you can elaborate on that later, but I think it was pretty cool, sort of like location that the tree was really significant in this area, and you really could strike that, oh, this is like some important aspect of the scenario, right? So there was like a lot of explorations for this part, and I remember that Weta was taking over this stuff, and they started like modeling that, so we could also implement it into Unreal Engine. I don't remember if we had like a full location for that. I think I even have some videos for that, but I didn't know if we can show it. So maybe Didier will show some of the more interactive stuff later on.
Yeah.
So let's move to the next one. So basically, this is like one of the interior designs that I did for Armory. Of course, we wanted to have like implemented some, areas that really gives you an idea that this is like set in the tree structure. So you can see like some multi-level and like some roots that's going over the whole structure. So it was pretty cool in terms of like just exploring the whole space. I think that's what this one was fun. It was Ferndale, I guess, the whole location. And also Didier did a lot of stuff on that. I think all your team guys was doing a lot of stuff that I remember when I was doing like a very rough sketches, and then you took it over and like modeled that, and then we all finished like a final stages for like concept designs of that. And it's pretty cool because the each, I guess, location has its own story. So what we can see is basically just a flat, last final, frame. But there was a lot of like exploration for that, and I also for the tree structures, I actually the first time used some new for me tools back then, which was Speed Tree, which basically generate the tree with the physical aspects of how the trees are being grown. And I did a lot of like just tree formations designs. Maybe I should attach it also here, but I didn't. So we had a lot of like locations that were built on top of the shape that we can just basically sketch out or model beforehand. So this was one of the more interactive, I guess, location with a lot of like hatches and houses being actually built onto the tree structure. And I think it was a lot of fun. At the same time, a lot of challenge with the scale aspect, because when you really start thinking about like how the paw of the mouse looked like, it's like really crazy, because as I think Aleksey mentioned, like putting the camera on the ground, and you started like imagining, oh, like our scale is totally different. So one tree for us is huge, right? But old, huge tree for the mouse or for the mice, it can be like a huge city. It can be like a, like a whole infrastructure, whole like a, huge space to live in, to build the cities on top of just one tree. So this was basically my main idea for this, just to attach as many structures to just even like the bottom foundation of the tree roots. I think this is connected because this is Armory from the Ferndale, and if you go back to the next one, to the tree world, yeah, I think this is actually what's happening, outside of those hatches. So I read only the part on the armory, but I know there was a lot of like exploration from other guys on the interiors, and that's why it was so cool, because we could do both exteriors, interiors. So we basically built like very interactive, set pieces. And this is, yeah, one of the more funny picture from like the action scene for the harvesting. I love the, like, regarding this project, I love the aspect not only of doing like a variety of work, but also how real we wanted to represent the life of the mouse, and how, how much we can put our human emotions into like those little characters, and what they are doing, how they are fighting, what their like habits is. So this was pretty cool. And I remember Wes was sending me some of the videos from, I think, National Geographic, when there's like really like close-up shots of like the mouse that's like climbing the whiz, and gathering the seeds and putting it down, and like just jumping off that, because the owl or like some eagle is just approaching, which is really awesome, because this immediately gives you a lot of ideas, and you can just use those mice and just put the character cloaks and designs on top of that, and you have like a really striking piece. Because how often do you see this sort of stuff, like the mice are just climbing on some like plants, and like chopping the seeds, and it's like pretty cool, I guess. Pretty interactive concept. Was also huge fun, and a lot of part of that project was basically putting a lot of actions into the concept, so they were not that just boring set pieces, right? Yeah, another one. I think this one in the beginning was called Shire. We sort of like used that name from the Lord of the Rings, because it looked like those little mice that are living the world in the rocks, and the plants, and like the grass. And I remember like Wes was calling me out all the time, like, "Hey, Darek, you have to add like some really cool aspects of like a scale," because I started like sketching that out all with the thinking of like, yeah, just I'm doing like another fantasy environment designs, even though I was so hyped from the beginning. But he's like, yeah, you have to look into the script more like in depth. And I started like searching and looking for the references that are more like from the ground level. And it's like, yeah, how many aspects I can put? Like, even maybe they are preparing for the winter, and they gather like some like seeds or plants to just prepare for the cold nights. And I just wanted to add that like life, like real life aspects, and the objects that we can associate ourselves with, right? Because you can associate with the grass, we can like little rocks, and like those like seeds, or all the elements, just to give us out. Yeah, for us it's like a pretty small, but we can grasp it in the hand. But for the mice, it can be like a super huge rock, or like it looks like it's very heavy. So I wanted to add as much like a real life elements to bring life basically to environment, so they are not only just interesting because of the shapes and the architectural designs, but also because of the story that we are trying to express through our concepts. And yeah, the chasing scene, yeah, so I think this was like Liam, just running away and from the owl. Was pretty, like, I think a lot of guys also did some other iterations. So it's like one of the set pieces, I think, that was also visible in Unreal demo that Wes released, but it got delayed, I guess. But it's still up if you look it up on YouTube. Anyway, so yeah, a lot of like nice action pieces, I guess. Not only just environments, right? Still, it's like a lot of action and a lot of like storytelling and scale, of course. Yeah, that I think that's one of the beauty part about this project. Is like, yeah, it's like your world that you built gave us a lot of freedom to still exploring. And I remember when I was working, for instance, on one of um, that school cave from the mouse switcher of yours, and we used like your original piece. So I wanted to be as much truthful and respectful to the original piece, yet we could still explore a lot how it looks from all different areas and how we can connect it with the world map. Because if you remember, we had like this sort of like unreal world that was basically connected. So everything was sort of like it's like a world map. You can just walk around from one piece to another. Oh yeah, this one exactly. The cave, the school cave was awesome concept, and yeah, I had a lot of fun exploring it. And one of the first actually pieces, I remember when Wes reached out to me at the beginning stage. There was basically like nothing that we had before, besides of course your comics. And when he showed it to me, it's like I was like, because he was like, "Hey Darek, I have this project, and maybe I don't know, maybe it's something that fits you, but let's have a look." And he showed me your comics and the concept you did and illustrations. Like, holy shit, man! Of course, it looks amazing. Let's give it a go. And he just wanted me for first couple of weeks just to explore the most crazy ideas I could just come up with. No matter if his sketch is like really rough, just to build a world that's sort of like flesh out that's a different point of view. And this is something that we normally don't really see, because we are of course much bigger than mice. So I was exploring a lot of like tree worlds and like all those little structures that they could build even to just one branch. So so this was just basically free for all, sketches for those couple weeks. And then I think I spoke to Daniel Durrance, or yeah, I think this was Daniel. He was producing for this show, and he sent me some really cool references for the old villages from Africa, from Somalia, over the rivers. And we were discussing the possible location of spruce stack, right? That's how that's how we call it. And basically they wanted me to do like just one big piece that's gonna give the inspiration for the whole map. And we were like sort of like exchanging references for the first couple of days, and I was doing like some sketches, and then this appeared to be like, I just want to build on top of like some existing village, and started like playing around like the shapes and different elements, and putting all different aspects of like the mouse guard world. And I guess they accepted that, because I remember that I think Didier and the guys from Aaron Sims took over that, and they built a huge location out of that. It was like amazing, like 1-to-1 from the concept, and then it just got expanded and it grew up, so it was so cool that one piece that you spent a couple of weeks on, because you wanted to have like all the details in place and put a lot of like story and structures, lighting, the love, because I guess we all put a lot of like heart into that project. And then you see that it's being interactively created in 3D space, which was like, yeah, mind-blowing, I guess, at the time.
Just a note for everybody, that some of the names of towns and cities and stuff that these guys are mentioning is the movie version. Wes had gone and started changing some of the names or swapping names of cities, so that like he loved the name Spruce Tuck, and it was filling in for what thematically was more like Barkstone in the comics. And he and I had talked about, like, do we have to make those changes? Can we make it so that it still lines up with the comic location so that people know? I see some people guessing based on visuals, like, oh, is this Port Sumac? Oh, is this place? Is that place? This was the movie version, so it's all gonna be its own world, its own difference.
Yeah, but still, fully respectful to your work, because I guess without that, we wouldn't even start. So
absolutely. It all felt like Mouse Guard. It just had different. It was just swapping names around.
Yeah, exactly. And the last one, even though, can you move this? Yeah. Even though there was like a lot of like set pieces that I showed, of course, every one of them required like a lot of like exploration behind it. And I think this one was basically Midnight Camp. I think one of my favorite location, because I did also a lot of like models for all the structures, and we started like building interactive map. And man, I remember, I wish I asked Wes to show some of the videos from that camp, because they really brought like the whole camp one-to-one to some of the concepts that I did. And when I look at it, it's like, Jesus Christ, it looks so good. You know, it's the mood, that the tone of that seriousness, it was all there. And I had like a lot of fun just designing different tent designs to have like a to have like a for the bad guys, you know, for the leader guy also, just to have like one huge, you know, badass tent on the top of the hill, and like normal ones just a little bit like more I would say repetitive, like more primitive tents on the sides, scattered on the bottom of the tree. And there were also like huge watchtowers. And when I looked at it, and they like really built like interactive, like the whole map flying over, that's like, yeah, the concept just got moved like one to one. It's like crazy. So one of definitely the most fun locations. And I think this was like a lot of stuff just been done, because I guess we all are sharing just like 7-10 pieces. But I remember when I counted my folders, like around 200 files. So it's like a lot of just sketches, concepts, plus a lot of like models and interactive maps. So yeah, huge stuff. And I guess it's been looking great, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I first of all want to thank David. And like for me, it's very cool to be in the company of such great artists, and you, of course. I'm a very big fan of the comic, and thank to Didier for like exchanging our contacts.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks, man. So I might be the last one to join on the project. I worked as a freelancer for Aaron on some other project, and it had anthropomorphic animals in it. So I guess he moved me on this one, and a lot of the work had already been done. As you see, this is Liam. I've used the concept that was done by David, and this was basically this scene. I call it the Gandalf arrival. There is like many many Lord of the Rings. Yeah, exactly. And but because of the whole atmosphere, it had to be like this positive atmosphere, and I call it the Gandalf arrival, because it reminds me a lot about this scene from the Lord of the Rings. And this one was a quick one, but one of my favorites for sure. And we can go to the next, which is actually my favorite piece that I did here. It's located in this serene village we saw from Aleksey beforehand, but like in this one, the mood had to be of course like a bit darker. And for the whole project, it's for me, I found very very cool that like the way we had to play with scale. For example, like the ripples, if they're real, they should be like way bigger. But and of course the torches, it will be like a match. It cannot burn this way, but for it to be like to characterize those mice and to make justice to your work, it was very cool playing with this thing. And for sure this one is my favorite I did for the project. I had very very helpful cool art direction from Aaron and Stefan. And yeah, we can go to next one. So this one was like this pub or cantina. I call it cantina.
Yeah.
So the original design of the environment was done by Didier, and I was sent his designs, and had to shape it up as a final keyframe for the movie. Actually, there was another one beforehand, but Wes thought that I went a bit too far with characterization, and I did them like more stylized uh, than the feel he was searching for. So I had to redo it. I guess this is Saxon and Kenzie, right? It's for sure them.
Yes, yes, definitely Saxon and Kenzie.
And yeah, it's like they're drunk and telling story and singing in the pub. It was an image I had a lot of fun doing. Uh, there, no, in the other one, there was a guy with a grasshopper on his back, but it's left on the other painting. So not here. Props to Didier for the great design. It's like. The whole design of this inside the tree puppies for me was very cool and really helped me to get into the mood to do the scene.
Oh, it's just absolutely phenomenal to see it coming alive, because I just did the environment, but then it's not alive without the characters and everything. So it was so cool to like see this.
I don't know if you
Yeah,
guys.
yeah.
I don't know if you guys know, but Saxon and Kenzie are based on my best friend and I. So I'm Saxon and he's Kenzie.
Oh, cool.
I mean, they're stylized exaggerations of our personalities, but and I'm not going to say what the changes were, but there were some significant changes to them from the comic to the movie in terms of their story. And what I found really fascinating and also comforting was that while they didn't necessarily match up with Saxon and Kenzie from the book, they completely matched up with my friend Jesse and I. Like it felt just as equally as much. This is a Dave and Jesse scene as it did a Saxon and Kenzie scene, and this one in particular with Saxon up on the table,
This is so
telling
cool,
his
man.
telling
It's
his
so
war
good to know.
stories is so it warms my heart.
This is
That's
amazing to know. So you're the one that goes into fights a lot, right?
I wouldn't necessarily say I'm a fighter, but I'm the person who leaps before he looks.
Okay. Same with me. Same with me. Okay, we can go to the next one. So this is basically the same shot Aleksey did. I never saw his one. I guess he never saw mine. Before we posted it, like literally in the same day. And it's yeah, this happens a lot. Like as you see, we work off of each other's work. We share. Like I never spoke to them, but like I saw some of the arts that were done by Darek and, for example, Aleksey's work on the Syrian village. So because I worked on this as well, and yeah, it's like we all the time. It's a collaborative stuff. Like it's not a single person doing this. It's like the character design, the moods, the scene. Like it's tons of talented people working together. And particularly with this one, there was not a raft at the beginning, but Wes wanted to add a raft, and I was like, where the hell I'm gonna add this raft, because it was already like the composition was done, you know, and I had to repaint it. I was wondering what's the center of composition, and I decided that like in this example, Kenzie will like not throw, but his torch will slip and will uh, the light will be on the opposite side of the snake's head. So that's how I got the center of composition. And yeah, it had to be very dynamic. So I motion blurred a lot of stuff, and I I went a little bit into chromatic aberrations, but hopefully not too much. So if it makes sense, of course. And
That looked badass, man. I really like this piece. It's really
thanks.
cool.
Great
And
one. Great
yeah,
one.
and really cool
Thanks a
seeing
lot.
like how two people are approaching the same basically scene, because you can always like pick up like, oh, this one was great and this one was great, but maybe we can pick up all different stuff from both pieces and then have like a nice combination.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing to us. Like
Yeah.
we do the work, and they pick little bits and pieces from each other, from each work, and yeah, the result would have been great at the end. Let's hope it will be done someday. Okay, so we can go to the next one. So this one, I'm not sure where this is. I was shown a concept of environment, concept of the castle, and storyboards where like this castle is raided, and this guy who is like a scholar of a sort tries to save all scripts and books, and jumps through the window. In this one, like challenging for me was perspective. Of course, it's not very complex perspective, but it's very strong perspective. So
Mm.
everything has to line up, and the camera angle is like from below. So it was. I messed up a couple of times and had to like readjust the perspective, so it worked. Although I built like a 3D model of the castle, but a lot of changes went on in this one. This scene is actually around the Serene village again. I think they said it. I think it's Willowbrook in the movie. That's what it's called. And they sent me a map of the place, and so it was a lot easier to to imagine where the different stuff was happening. And this scene is Liam. In this case, finding a dead mouse, discovering something happening in this area. This one was the fight scene from the trailer. It's basically old ruins. It had to be old ruins with old mouse ruins in the tall grass, where our hero, one of our heroes, is fighting. He's getting ambushed, and for this one, it was very cool that the guys from Maron seems creative. Let me do like they let me do it how I wanted to do it. Like I like it to be more painterly, like to paint more than like use photo textures and stuff, and they let me do whatever I want. So it was cool. And the next one is actually I did the first one, and he was like, okay, then right now do it from the other angle. And I was like, oh God, why I didn't build it in 3D and I had to paint it all over again. So this is basically from the opposite angle. And this scene was actually they changed their mind a couple of times what they wanted to do with it. So the next slide, Liam encountering like some kind of a ferret or something like this. It's basically the same scene. I just added the character, and the next one is the fight scene that you can see in the trailer. Uh, yeah, I'm not sure if this is Kenzie or someone else because he has like the staff, but maybe it's some other character. I'm not sure. But yeah, this is for this scene, and the next one is basically it's the first thing I did on this project, and I was sent a sketch that was done, I believe, by Tyler Thaw, is the name of the artist, and it was like very rough sketch, and my my task was to build it like to be more concrete, more to elaborate more on what's happening with this place, with the rules, uh, with the towers and like the small buildings, the slums and the ports uh, that are below. So yeah, this was my first image, and maybe I spent the most time on it because we changed like the how the towers would look. I did several iterations, and yeah, that's it. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'm mostly focused on environment work for the project, and I started off with spruce stock, which is an hollowed out tree, spruce tree, and inside the tree is like towns and like marketplaces and all kinds of stuff where mice come together. And yeah, I did a bunch of sketches, and Wes responded on that, and then we pretty quickly jumped into 3D because the whole tree has such a layout with different kind of sections and all that stuff. And I also love to like work in 3D because it allows me to immerse myself in the space and get a sense of how we're gonna see this through different kind of lenses throughout the film. So it was really cool to really immerse myself in this environment. And yeah, mostly I did like making renders, which is like in the 3D software. Then I painted on top to create the mood, the lighting, the kind of textural quality of this environment. And that was just a lot of fun playing with skill, like finding the balance of like something that still feels like we can connect to as an audience. Like if, for example, on the play, those look like pieces of bread, but it's actually like a piece of corn. So that kind of stuff was really fun, and the candles, like how the flames are. And also that it feels like more like torches. So that was just a lot of fun to play with this environment. And yeah, mostly took inspiration from European medieval bars. And there was one bar I found in Prague, if I say correctly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's called the Medieval Tavern. You can Google it, and it actually has the same kind of mood and things hanging there, and those candles that are like dripping down. So I was looking a lot at reference from those kind of places, as well as like films like Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings and Pirates of the Caribbean, like Tortuga, that kind of warm interior feeling where there's a lot of smog and fog going on. And yeah, it was also, of course, great that there was already, we were privileged with a lot of materials from your respected illustrations from the original comic. And what I was doing, I was like zooming in on how did you drew a chair, and where are the screws, and what kind of material is that, and I tried to recreate those assets in 3D, and then with that I could block out those environments. And that was like for chairs, tables, mugs, or barrels, to bring it alive and photoreal. Yeah, I had just a lot of fun doing that. I think for this, it was also what Hristo was talking about. It was very much where Wes was after, to get this cantina feeling of Star Wars or Jabba's Palace, where there's a lot of those dark corners where people can like intimate conversations, or making deals, or all coming together in this hub. So yeah, that was basically the spruce duck.
It's great environment design, man. It's
Yeah.
so immersive, and
Right.
you know, it's a bit crooked because it's in a tree, and
Yeah, that was the only thing. Like normally in 3D, if you have science fiction, for example, it's very repetitive shapes. But I had to like model things because everything was, like you said, very crooked. So most of the things I had to place by hand, and I just couldn't like copy paste, because it's all organically placed, and it should feel alive. Like that it captures the story.
This was kind of a stand-in for the June Alley Inn in some narrative ways, but my June Alley Inn is very clean and square and geometric, and this organic thing that it brings in the best of the cantina from Star Wars, from medieval things, from it almost feels like it's already a Disneyland ride. It's like all of those things that touch on the same kind of heartwarming, Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, that warm, inviting tavern, but totally redesigned so that it still feels like Mouse Guard.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. And this was the catacombs, an environment that is, I believe, under the castle. And this was, it should have felt very dark, and in a way like sinister, with a lot of shadow work, and the only places that are lit are being lit by the candle / the torches. And it was a lot of fun to play with dark and light here, and to also push for the mood. Like I always try to push for that realistic feeling of mud, water, and like I'm zooming in and looking at a lot of photos, how that works with the reflection, and how that sort of dark middle where it's like a little bit undeep, where it becomes more orangey, the mud.
True artist nerdy stuff.
Yeah, I'm just diving into like to capture that thing from nature. That was just a lot of fun. I was just in general just extremely inspired to be surrounded daily from all the other artists that were involved working on this, and to see their art and what they are doing, and that inspired me to like push for the quality. And it was also very collaborative, to like share assets, and to bounce ideas back and forth. And it was great that I was involved in some of the meetings with Wes, and it was just great to work with him. He has just a great eye for detail, and he's also like a visual effects artist and designer himself, so he really understands like the techniques behind it and how things can be pushed. That was great. This was my take on the outside of spruce duck, playing around with like a bird skull as an entrance thing, and then the whole general shape is like a sort of bird wings that come out of it. It should have, to capture that idea of like that this is a place that they are going to, but they kind of, it's not inviting in a way. It's kind of sinister. So that was what Wes was after, and how I came up with these kind of shapes. But it was just, like I said before, it was just great to see other artists doing their take on this, and therefore it was also very educational to see, cool, like to see someone else's mind on the same idea. That was just really cool. Yeah, this is like very Lord of the Rings, the kind of Aragnoth shapes, and like I said, collaborative. Like this, these assets were designed by Carl Brown, who was one of our colleagues, and he built it all this in 3D, and that I did my pass on it to make it alive. Yeah, it was just a lot of fun, just bouncing back and forth with each other on these pieces. Yeah, here's once again the catacombs. Yeah, like if you zoom in on the mud, I don't know. Just once again me nerding out on trying to capture the specific kind of mud, but I just have that in my mind. Like I need to see the kind of things from real life to like bring it alive, I guess. Yeah, it's so much fun. Like this is by far the most.
I thought you were going to say so much mud.
Oh. Oh.
Mud is fun. Mud is fun.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. Yeah, it creates a mood, you know. Yeah, but no, I wanted to say it was by far the most fun project that I've ever worked on in my career so far, because it was just, everything was just, the flow was there, just great direction, a great vision, a great story, and being involved in a great art team, and seeing daily inspiration of what everyone is making, and yeah, that was just awesome. Yeah.
All right, we got a special treat for some of you guys. Didier also provided some video.
Yeah, so I'll just talk over that. This is one of the, we saw earlier, one of Darek's designs, and we were blocking it out. How does it look in 3D, and model every detail, and yeah, figuring out the layout, and basically converting the painting into a 3D model.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, for this project, Wes worked with Unreal, and he knows himself, like I said before, he's an artist himself. So it's just awesome that he could also work in the engine and real-time block out scenes, and there was motion capture involved. So all the techniques were just being combined together to really build this movie in pre-production, and that's why we worked for such a long time on this in pre-production, because that is where you can still shift around with things and mold the film the way you want it and explore. So that was just really cool.
Yeah, definitely one of the longest, actually, because when you work on a movie, usually it's like the pre-production is like 2-3 months, you know, like the concept art is done, it's shipped, and then they start like blocking it out, or like you know, doing set pieces. And since the Mouse Guard movie was supposed to be like so elaborative that you could basically just jump into the world and like walk around it, it looked basically like building the game, not the movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
so every corner of that had to be, you know, done, and from all different perspectives. So just like a flat pictures didn't do justice, you know. So you know, we all, as the guys previously mentioned, we all like worked on like this similar stuff, and then just collaborative effort brought things to like more interactive world.
Emma Watts at Fox, who was head of the studio at the time, was totally gung-ho on Mouse Guard being a major tentpole for the studio. So I think Wes understood that, and Wes also knew that you guys weren't just developing things for the first movie. Like this, the
Yeah.
plan was get all this stuff figured out so that they can be the movie. While the second movie is in production, there's a TV show in between, and that there would be an immersive VR, AR video game type experience.
Yeah.
So like Wes had you guys doing all this work because he knew that was the plan.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was also really cool that accompanying like the 3D videos that Didier is showing, like Wes did like an extensive amount of research in terms of doing maquettes, because again, you have to play with that scale. So they actually built out like several maquettes, including like the turtle houses. They're like full maquettes in scale of how those looked, making sure about like what size the stitching is, like the elements, like all the accessories, like the rope.
Yeah.
They also had like Helena's hut figured out and Liam's. Like there was like so much like detail and attention put into the world building that went from the maquettes to the concept art to like the 3D models that Didier is showing about really figuring out the space
Right.
and how Wes was going to shoot, like which angles. That's why what Didier did in here showing like all of this walkthrough into the space is like so important. And like the reason as well, like where it was showing out so good, and is that Wes has such a good eye as a director in terms of creating this immersive world, and his back and forth with the artists, like all of us included, and then how we all collaborated together just brought so much depth into the world that David already had built, right? Because we were able to like work on top, and then another person would work on top of that, and then it kept piling up, where like at the end you ended up with such like a rich layered universe.
Yeah, and the way that you guys are talking about how, you know, one artist would take a stab at a particular scene or moment, and then the next person would do something, and then the third version would be a conglomeration of those two, taking the best things from each. I feel like in some ways my stuff was just like patient zero. I was this like foundation where you guys started building on top of my stuff and then kept building off of each other to the point where this became more than just a comic. This became more than a graphic novel. This became a living, breathing world. Some of the stuff that David was talking about with the maquettes, that stuff was visible in the video that Wes posted right when the movie was canceled, and I know some of that stuff has been scrubbed from the internet. But I can tell anyone who's watching this, if you go to my Twitch videos page, there is a video that is called Mouse Guard Movie Cancellation AMA or something like that, where I did an AMA right after the cancellation, and I show that footage, both the sizzle reel that has been a little harder to find on the internet, as well as the studios or the offices where you can see the maquettes that David was talking about. But Didier, as we're flying around the June Alley Inn or whatever it was called for Spruce Tuck, any other thoughts as we fly through? Anything you want to say about the environment?
Yeah, so from a technical point of view, it's like this was the final model that went through a lot of stages, and then I made the render. So basically, if you would pause this video, that would be my base, and then I would like draw on top of it to like push for the mood and all that stuff. And here you can see the chairs that I try to really take over and respectively from your comic, and to still keep the soul of the world you already established, and then build on top of that, you know. And that was just great, because just going through the scene just gave Wes so many ideas of how we can experience this during the film, and the characters that are in there are just for skill purposes. But yeah, it was so much fun. Yeah. And
I build my own architectural models for reference when I'm doing my books, and I find that, like you were saying, you know, Wes finds angles, finds shots, finds new interesting places to play with visually because he gets to explore the model. And seeing this one, my head is already like, ooh, I want to know what happens in that room. And that room, actually, you can still hear through the fireplace and see a little, so it feels private, but you could actually overhear something in that room if you wanted to. Like, the design here in terms of an environment that inspires story is just fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this one is very impressive, man.
Yeah, that was I think was 2 or even maybe 3 months of like exploring, and there were so many of this kind of a version of this environment. But yeah, it's exactly the same way. You allow yourself to like find these things, and that's the beauty of where the whole industry is now going with Unreal and real time, that you can have a real time exploration of a set before you start building it, or before you spend money building it. And that's just such a great tool. And Wes knows exactly that that is the future, and he really pushed that into this production. And it was just great to see how a big team of super talented artists were like even taking this model of mine and that completely making it with textures and have like little fires in the corner, and they were all like little sparks going off it, and it was alive like a video game. You could go through it, and
Yeah.
yeah, beautiful. I think that's
Very immersive experience, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, you guys have done an amazing job of not just doing this work, and there was a whole army. It wasn't just you five. There were many others, hundreds. I would think thousands of other people involved.
It felt like that.
It felt like it. I would say I think it's in the hundreds, but hundreds of
legions.
Yeah,
legions.
Easily hundreds of people.
For sure, yeah.
Legions of folks, and we have taken over an hour to show this glimpse, and you guys know, I know, this is a tip of the iceberg in terms of concept art, models, costumes, facial tests, fur tests, rotations, lighting tests, all kinds of actual scenes that were filmed. This is a tip of the iceberg, and while yes, we hope that something can happen down the road, I'm just happy that we get to tonight celebrate you five for your talents and your skills of taking something that is a two-dimensional graphic novel with only segments of moments, just the panels. We don't get any of the movement or moments in between, and you guys were able to expand on that and grow that into a full world that I think that the entire chat agrees could be not just a movie, but I've seen comments about it being an amusement park and an open world game, and etc. And I think that's a testament to the quality of work and the heart of the work that you guys put in. So thank you guys so much, not just for doing it in the first place, but for being here tonight and sharing that with my audience. Thank you.
Yeah, pleasure, man. Pleasure. Thank you for having us.
So much, David.